everybody, it's Oldskulenerd. Welcome in. Today is a special video. It's a Merry Christmas video. Even though today is not Christmas, it doesn't matter. This is my yearly holiday meal special. Yeah, like a couple of years ago, I think I did a goose. And then last year, I did like a mac and cheese or a scalloped potato. This year, a little different. I'm going to show all of you two videos, two recipes. One is required to do the other. Okay? The first video is this one. It's how to make a Cajun meatball. Now, why is that important? There's a lot of different methods on making meatballs. There's the Italian no-no way, which is perfect. There's Swedish meatballs. There's the ones they make in the UK that nobody eats. Sorry, I couldn't help myself. There's the ones that they make in India that are better than everyone, but just nobody knows. That kind of stuff, okay? But here's what we're going to do. I'm going to make a Cajun meatball. And the reason why this is so important is Cajun meatballs are used in multiple different recipes in Cajun cooking. Now, you can use these as just a straight meatball. I know some people like to just eat meatballs with like potatoes on the side. If that's you, that's fine. I'm not going to judge. But how we use them is pretty specific. Ready? We use them in our spaghetti. That's pretty obvious. A spaghetti and meatballs, but it's a Cajun meatball. But we also use them in a referred to as a meatball stew. If you follow my Instagram, about every Thursday, I go to a restaurant here where I live called Tons downtown here in Lafayette, and I get their meatball stew. What a meatball stew is, you have all heard of gumbo, right? Similar concept, but we take a meatball, a Cajun meatball, and we smother it in a roux-based gravy that's similar to gumbo, but it's reduced down to a rich gravy. We smother it down, and we put it over rice. It's one of my favorite things, period. It is a lifetime childhood favorite that I will eat till the day I die of cholesterol poisoning. I love it. I'm sorry, it's never going to change. But also today, I'm showing you how to make this Cajun meatball for a reason. Number one, you use whatever reason you like a meatball for, but the other one is, for our traditional Christmas recipe for this year, you have to know how to make the Cajun meatball. So watch this video first, and then any video I make after this that requires the meatball, I'll refer to this one so you know how to make this first. Are you ready? Here we go. The Cajun meatball. All right, so how are we going to turn 2 pounds of ground meat into Cajun meatballs? All right, let's talk about it. Start off, 2 pounds ground meat. I'm telling you now, do not get 93% fat-free or that super lean ground meat. You're going to want a little bit of fat depending upon the recipe. But classically, 80-20 is the best way to go here. Trust me on this. Of course, I'm a big fan of sea salt. You're going to want some of that. I go to Sam's. I'm not going to lie. I go to Sam's and their Italian grinder seasoning, which is dried herbs and different pepper flakes in here in an Italian mix with a grinder at different levels of coarseness. That's my go-to for Italian seasoning. I'll just be honest with you. Creole Seasoning. I'm a big fan of Tony's. If you like Cajun seasoning, this is your one. You can get this online. You can order it all day long. So no matter where you are around the world, I can't make Cajun food. That's not true. If you have this, you can get pretty dang close. All right, I also like some red pepper flakes. This is a personal preference. I'm gonna show you what I'm gonna do with this. Okay, you're gonna need a cup of onion, bell pepper, and celery, the Cajun Trinity. Here's the thing, here's the ratio. 1, half, half. So if it's 1 portion of onion, half portion of celery, half portion of bell pepper. And I did it total to where it's 1 cup. And I cheated. I did use a slap chop. And there's a reason why I use a slap chop, because I need it super, super pulverized, almost to a mush, because I'm mixing it in to a meatball and I don't want it too chunky. And I'll show you about that in a little bit. 2 eggs. Oh wait, you notice it's 2, 2, 2. 2 pounds of ground meat, 2 eggs. Got it. You're gonna need 2 slices of bread, toasted, turned into breadcrumbs, or a half a cup of breadcrumbs you can just buy out of a bag. I like to make my own. I toast them, mortar and pestle, breadcrumbs. 2 links of Cajun sausage. Now this is where it gets a little different here. Cajun sausage is not like any other sausage. It is a specific recipe you can get in South Louisiana and South Texas, but there are recipes I've seen on YouTube and different places where you can have your local butcher make it, but that's very expensive. Most of these can be ordered and shipped anywhere. There are different providers, Richards, Savoirs, there's a bunch of different specialty shops that will ship Cajun sausage to you. Now this of course is now smoked. Here in Louisiana, you can skip the step that requires a food processor if you get fresh sausage that isn't smoked. You know how many people can do that? You have to pretty much be in Louisiana to pull that off, where it's not smoked already. So there you go. Get you some a case of frozen sausage, Cajun sausage. They have it in mild, hot, Cajun hot, and a green onion variety, which is the one I'm using here, which I absolutely love. But let's go through it step by step. Are you ready? Let's go. Now, to clear the sausage, we have to take this casing off. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut it lengthwise. This is thawed, it's not frozen, it's refrigerated. I'm gonna cut it lengthwise, and I'm gonna peel the casing off. Once I have the casing off, I'm gonna pulverize it into a ground fine mixture in the food processor. Let me show you what it looks like when I'm done. Again, so this is what it looks like. I cut the end off, did one slice all the way down the length, cut the other end off, peeled back from either side, and then pulled it down, and there it is. There's the casing right there. Now, I know that looks a little weird, but if you have fresh sausage, you don't even need to do this step. If it's fresh sausage, it hasn't been smoked or cooked, you can literally just cut the end off and squeeze it out like a toothpaste tube. But either way, this is Cajun sausage without the casing. That's what we're using today. Now, while the vegetables are sauteing, and it's going to take a few minutes because we're doing that kind of on a low medium heat, I know this is a big sticking point for a lot of you. Oldskulenerd, I do not have Cajun sausage. I cannot find Cajun sausage. How the hell am I going to ship Cajun sausage? It's going to cost me €100 to ship it from the United States. What do I do? Remember when I showed you this? This you can order, it's pretty easy to come by. You can get this pretty much globally now. This and this, the only thing that's different between this and this is the fact that this was done here and we used this kind of stuff in the sausage before we smoked it. So technically, if you go get a fresh sausage from your local grocer, now, no sage, no breakfast sausages, no German herb bratwurst type sausages, just a straight sausage. Even if it's smoked or whatever, just follow the same steps. But when you get to the part where you start to mash this up, add Cajun seasoning to it and add it to taste. As you can see, this is pretty orange, and there's a reason why, because you use a ton of this stuff. Be careful. Everyone's taste is different. Try a little bit, cook it, see how you like it. But you can substitute. Instead of shipping Cajun sausage to wherever you are, you can easily get one of these for less than 20 bucks or €20, shipped to your house and make your own. It's a little bit of a hack. Do I like the fresh one that's made here? Of course, but not everybody can get that. So I'm not gonna leave you hanging. Put this in your favorite sausage in a mince, you're good to go. Now we're gonna get into the part of actually making the meatball. Now, this is gonna require a black iron skillet or a non-stick large pan, depending upon the size of the meatball and how many you need to make. I usually make a large batch because I use them in multiple different ways, and they do save. You can freeze them, you can refrigerate them if you're gonna use them within a day or two, but let's just go through the steps. The first step of making a meatball, if it's a Cajun style meatball, is we have to saute our fillings. I know that makes no sense to you, but follow along. You're gonna need olive oil. You're gonna need those fine chopped Cajun Trinity, onion, bell pepper, and celery. You're gonna need the red pepper flakes. And you're gonna need that Italian seasoning that I got from that grinder from Sam's or Costco or wherever you wanna get your Italian dried herbs. We're gonna bring this to a medium heat. There is a reason why we're using olive oil, because with olive oil, if you go too high, you'll burn it. It's a very high, very low burn temperature, so that's gonna help control it. Plus it gives us a really good oil that we're not using any processed seeds, and that's kind of what I'm trying to avoid. This is a very good olive oil. I get it from Spain. It's a little bit on the expensive side, but I really love my olive oil. So, okay, so we're gonna get this up to a heat. And once we get it up to a decent heat, we're gonna be adding our onions and our bell peppers. Okay, we're gonna add all of that in there. And then we're gonna add our Italian seasoning to that as well. And then a little bit of the red pepper flakes. We're not gonna go nuts with this. And there's a reason why we're not using a lot of it. It's because we're already using a Cajun sausage, which has a little bit of seasoning in there. That's a pretty good mix. Now we're gonna saute this down. I'm gonna show you what it looks like here in a few seconds. All right, I've done giving you the sausage hacks. You don't have to go try to ship fresh Cajun sausage to you from around the world. Here we go. We are now sauteing these this Holy Trinity with the red pepper flakes and the olive oil. We're gonna let this we're gonna saute this down till of course all the onions and bell peppers and celery have rendered, become translucent. I like to take them a little bit further than that. I want them fully cooked. People don't tell you this, but okay. When it comes to Cajun cooking, we don't ever add anything raw to a recipe. Almost everything is sauteed. It's usually cooked down in some way, shape, or form. Now, there are exceptions, and your grandma and grandpa will tell you the differences, or I will in recipes. But normally, anytime I do any sort of Holy Trinity, it's rare that a Holy Trinity from Cajun cooking, the onion, bell pepper, and celery, will just go raw into a recipe. It's almost never gonna happen. We usually saute them down first with butter or some sort of oil. This one's going really, really well. I'm gonna show you as soon as it's done. All right, now you're starting to hear a light snapping sizzle on this stuff. As you can see, all the onions are no longer yellow, they are translucent. Everything is starting to get kind of a brown hue. Kind of almost looks like stuffing. I think we're good with this. The key now is I'm gonna turn it off. I'm taking it off the heat, and it's gotta cool. This stuff has to be back down to room temperature. If you don't, you do not wanna add this hot off the stove to a raw egg, raw ground meat. The temperatures will conflict and mess up your meatball. So now we're gonna let this cool off and rest for a few minutes, and then we'll go to the next step.
3.
All right, real quick, I'm gonna interrupt the video just for a quick little story. You know how I took that black iron skillet and I put olive oil in there, and I put onions and bell peppers and celery with the Tony's, the Cajun seasoning? When I was in the Army, I taught wilderness survival and SEER training, where we actually taught different soldiers and pilots and different specialties on how to survive inland. One of the one of the evolutions was a 2-week wilderness survival certification. We took them out into the national forest, federal land, and they just lived off the land. They had to trap food, forage, and everything else. And the training cadre, I'm sorry we did this. I feel so bad now. We made up camp, and they had to camp away, and we made sure that we put them downwind, and we took a black iron skillet on a burner. We put olive oil in it, and we sliced onions in rings, and we put onions, zucchini, and yellow squash in a hot black iron pan with the Cajun seasoning. If you ever order Cajun seasoning, and I don't care where you are around the world, get yourself a black iron skillet or a Dutch oven, bring it up to heat, put some olive oil in the bottom, medium heat, get a nice little sizzle going, and take onions, yellow squash, zucchini with olive oil, toss them in some Cajun seasoning, and just saute them in a pot. Anyone within 50 feet or, 20 meters of you will come running. They'll be like, what is that smell? It is one of the greatest smells in the history of the world. But anyway, I digress. Let's get back to the video, because now that we've sauteed our little Holy Trinity, we got to make a meatball. So let's get into that. All right, so this is where Livy tries to follow my hands. Okay, so we have our meat, 80-20, ready to go, 2 pounds. We have 2 eggs scrambled up. We have our 2 links of Cajun sausage. I showed you how to make sausage with this if you don't have Cajun sausage. Now, We have our 2 slices of bread made into breadcrumbs. We have our Cajun Trinity. It has been cooled. So let's make meatballs. We're gonna add this. Make sure we get it all in there. Okay. Then we're gonna add our breadcrumbs. Then we're gonna add our Cajun sausage to the mix. And now the eggs. But before I put the eggs, I want to get this mixed up. You got to use your hands. I'm sorry if you want to use gloves. I know a lot of people love to use gloves, especially on videos, but my hands have been washed. It's my house, so I'm just going to do it with my bare hands. Ready? Let's go. We're going to get this a good mix here, okay? And we're just, now, the idea is you want to try to get the colors to mix. You have your, one of my favorite things about using Cajun sausages, it's orange, your meat is red, so you want to get them all one color. That shows that you've actually got them a good mix, okay? Now, I'm gonna do all of this, get a good mix going. You're gonna start seeing those colors become one color. It's kind of an off red, okay? I'm gonna keep it going. Make sure you get a good mix. Now, I like to use the grab and twist kind, to where I'm actually doing similar to a meat mixer, but with my hands, okay? Now, it's a pretty good mix. Take our egg, add our egg. Now, the reason why I'm adding the egg last is because this is the binder of the ingredients. I don't want my breadcrumbs or anything else gumming that up until it's mixed in. So by doing this, it does 2 things. Number 1, I don't have to wet my hands now to keep this separated. See, it doesn't stick to my hands now very much because the egg is in there. So now, are you ready? Let's make a meatball. So we're gonna go in here. Now the size of the meatball can be completely up to you. Depends upon what kind of recipe you're doing. I like to go palm size just like this. 1. I'm gonna do another one. If it fits in the palm of your hand like this, in the crease between when you cup, that's a good size because it allows me to pack, roll, okay? Not too much, done. And that's 2. Now, I'm gonna finish the rest of these. Once we get all this in here, then I'm gonna show you what to do and how to cook them. Are you ready? There we go. And then of course, you know, well, okay, I'll show you. We've gone from here to here. There's only one thing left to do. That's to put some heat on them. Let's go try that now. All right, so here we go. Now it's time to cook the Cajun meatballs. Now, I will tell you that there are 3 things that I use every time I cook my Cajun meatballs. And there's a reason why I'm gonna show you this technique, because unlike a lot of other meatballs, these are not just beef. There's a mixture of pork in here. So when you cook a pork meatball, every Italian will tell you, don't go too fast. You gotta do it right. So we have all of our meatballs here. We have a large nonstick pan with some olive oil in there at a medium heat, not high heat. If you have this thing on a high heat, stop. It's too hot. Trust me on this. And a large bowl of chicken stock and a ladle. Why is there a bowl of chicken stock and a ladle there? For a Cajun kitchen, it's the same reason why there's a bottle of wine there or a bottle of beer here. You don't drink chicken stock, but you will deglaze with it. You'll also deglaze with a bottle of wine or a bottle of beer. It doesn't depend. I don't drink at all, so chicken stock is my go-to unless I need seafood stock, vegetable stock, beef stock. But for this recipe, chicken stock is gonna work for me. Why do we always have this in Cajun kitchens? It's deglazing. We deglaze everything. It's probably the only thing that we can honestly say we're paying attention when it comes to French cuisine is the deglaze. Oh, it's the key to Cajun cooking. Are you ready? Here we go. I have my soft tongs here, and I'm just gonna lay these in. I'm gonna lay these in nice and soft. And because it's not at a high heat, there's a little bit of a frying action there, but it's not too fast, it's not too bad, okay? I'm gonna get all of these in here, then we're gonna let them slowly cook, and I'm gonna show you why I have tongs and why I have this. I'll be right back. There's some missing from here, and now they're in here. Now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 meatballs in this one pan. But there's more room between each one. Why don't we take all the rest of it, just stack them in here? There's a reason why. I don't want to overstack the amount of meatballs in here because I want to be able to flip them to cook them evenly all the way around. Now, that's just part of the method. This is the part that takes time. So we're going to brown each side, and I'm going to roll them using the tongs, and I'm going to cook them evenly on all sides. But I'm cooking on a slow heat, so the insides of the meatballs will not be cooked. So the outside will look cooked. It'll get a nice crust on it. But because I'm not using a high heat, I'm not browning the beef. There's also another reason why we go with slow, low, medium heat on this is because of the pork. You don't want to cook the pork so fast that it doesn't have time to render all the fat out. We want to get as much of the fat out rendered from the meatball so we don't take it over to our sauce, to our roux, to our mix, to whatever we're using a meatball for. We want to give it slow, low time, just like if you're cooking a duck breast or you're cooking a pork meatball or pork in general. You want to get the rendered fat done and then brown it. Go low and slow at first and gradually get there. If this was just an all beef meatball, yeah, go for it. Go with a high heat, sear it all the way around, move it, bake it, whatever you're going to do. But we're not going to bake this because we're going slow and low. I'm going to show you the way the Cajun does it without an oven. And the secret is, well, it has to do with this. Yeah, the chicken stock that's sitting there for no reason. I'll show you the reason in a few seconds. Okay, now once you get them cooked on all sides, which is what we've done, we've rolled them over many, many times. You can see all of the pork fat has come out. There's a lot of fat in this. Also the beef fat as well. It smells like pork sausage in here. It's an amazing smell. Here's the thing. There are two things you could do here. If you're making a spaghetti or a recipe where you're not trying to save the rendered fat, you could go ahead and just put all this in the oven. But because I'm trying to save that fat, I want to do something different. So I'm going to remove these out. Now that I've gotten almost all of the pork fat out of them rendered, and it's just what's remaining, the meatballs, I'm going to get these out and I'm going to do the next batch. I'm going to transfer them over to a metal bowl. Now these are not cooked through. If you wanted to add them to a spaghetti sauce or another type of stew, you could do that. They would finish cooking in there, but you wouldn't eat these just without any further preparation. The insides are not completely done. Okay, now that we have this, I'm going to add more from here to this. And let's finish the batch till we have all of these in here. And I'm going to show you what to do with all of this down here and why it is amazingly good stuff. Okay, we've browned all of these meatballs. By doing so, we've also rendered all of the fat out. Why? I've drained it from this to here. It's sitting here. And I'm going to use that for something else. So ignore it for now. We're going to go ahead and put all these back in here, right? We're going to put all of our meatballs back in here. I can put these in the oven to finish. A lot of Italian nonas would rather me do that, and that's fine. What if I told you there was a way to not do that and add a bunch of flavor to any dish you want? We're going to crank up the heat now since we've rendered our fat out. Let's go ahead and finish these off on the inside using a technique called deglazing. Now, these are all in here. They're roasting on the bottom. They're getting some gristle on here. The sound is not a bubble, more of a crisp crack sizzle. Okay, so we know it's doing it. Remember our little deglazing sauce, which is of course just chicken stock. It's going to go in here. I'm going to do this. Okay, you can hear that. It immediately changes. It's going to start deglazing. All of that wonderful searing that's on the bottom of this pan from cooking these off is going to come off, and it's going to create a nice situation going on. We're going to cover this. We're going to cover this for about 5 minutes. You see, it's already starting to steam up. Now, this high steam in here is going to cook those meatballs all the way through. So if you were worried about your meatball being underdone inside, rather than putting them in the oven, we're just going to keep infusing flavor from the chicken stock and moisture into your meatball to where they're cooked all the way through. they'll be nice and succulent. And what's going to happen is, as the chicken stock cooks down, you're left with an amazing base at the bottom that you can use to start any sauce you want. A spaghetti sauce, a fricassee, a stew. It'll be your base sauce on the bottom that you can build any Cajun recipe from. That's why we do it like this. Now, you can put them in the oven, but again, you don't get that. And it's up to you. But again, I'm going to use this here to cook these all the way through, reducing and deglazing over and over again to my meatballs, which already have a great sear on the outside, build a depth of flavor in the bottom of the pan that I can use to make the most amazing spaghetti sauce, or roux sauce, or, oh, I don't know, maybe even a Cajun shepherd's pie or roast. I don't know. Whatever it is, it's going to be amazing. I'll tell you more about it later. All right, so it started over, but that's okay. We'll cut it out. Okay, so if the end of that video didn't make a lot of sense, let me explain it a little better. I was trying to do 3 things at once, so if that didn't make a lot of sense, just follow along real quick. So the portion of the video where I have browned all of those meatballs, and there's a layer of fat at the bottom from the rendered pork, I take the meatballs out of that pan, I drain the excess fat. Now, you can use that fat for a bunch of different things, and it's going to be key in the next recipe that I'm doing. But for meatballs, at that point, once you remove the rendered excess fat, you still have all the gristle and browning and searing in the bottom of the pan. You bring your meatballs back to the pan, raise the heat, and you gradually, slowly, a little bit at a time, add that chicken stock. The chicken stock is going to deglaze the bottom of the pan, then it's going to reduce and start to brown again, and then you repeat it. The idea is you want to wait till all that chicken stock is evaporated off the bottom, and it starts to brown again on the bottom, and you keep adding it, and it's going to develop a jus on the bottom, a gravy substance that, I can be honest with you, with those Cajun meatballs, here's some options. You can create that jus and then add tomatoes, blended tomatoes, and create your spaghetti sauce. You can add a store-bought tomato sauce if you want to at that point as well. That will work as well. You can also, and this one's kind of fun, you can also add a situation with, this is me though. I like to take my meatballs out at that point, make a mash, a potato mash or a cauliflower mash, and use that jus at the bottom as my potato gravy. Just saying. You can also, for me, on the next episode, this next video I'm about to give you for the holiday, both of these videos come out the same day, so they're going to be showing to each other. But I gave the subtle question of a shepherd's pie. I'm going to make one in the next video. And it's my holiday recipe where I take a Cajun meatball or Cajun ground beef and make a UK classic shepherd's pie, but a Cajun shepherd's pie. How did it turn out? I gotta be honest with you, better than I thought. And it could be my holiday. Hold on. It gets a little different. I understand if you use beef, it's a cottage pie instead of lamb. But instead of a mince, I keep it as a meatball. It's so good. If you don't believe me, I don't care. All right, everybody. Hope you enjoyed that. That is my recipe for a Cajun meatball. I will have the written recipe in the description below. Always refer back to the recipe. And if you're going to try to make a Cajun meatball and you have questions, check me out on Instagram, message me there, find me in a stream live here on Twitch or on YouTube and say, hey, I need help with the Cajun meatball. How do I do it? I'm missing something. I'll help you out, all right? My name is Oldskulenerd. I'm wishing everyone a Merry Christmas. And yeah, that's how I make a Cajun meatball. Thanks for watching, everybody. And if you enjoyed this video, give us a like. It really helps the channel grow. Also, if you want to subscribe, right over there. A big thank you to all my Patreons out there for everything you do. And if you want more content like this, check them out above. Remember, love one another, take care of each other. We're all stuck on this Meatball together. We'll see you later.